Sir Elton John's legendary career has made him one of the top-selling recording artists of all times. He has 35 gold and 25 platinum albums. And now, along with his good friend and lyricist Bernie Taupin, he's bringing another famous figure to life. It's Anne Rice's vampire Lestat. Lestat opens tonight at the Palace Theater, and to give that show a proper send-off, Sir Elton and Bernie are here to talk about it this morning, and Elton's going to play a song from the new show and a classic as well. Elton, Bernie, good to see you. Good morning. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Broadway, not new for you. You've been there with Aida and Lion King, and so what did you think about bringing a vampire to life on the stage?
Well, we were very excited. We actually wanted to do it in the 1970s, but we actually couldn't get permission to do it because the rights were all tied up with someone else. And it's taken us all this time to actually get the project together. Actually, it wasn't us, it was someone else who brought it to us. And we were delighted. We were such fans of Anne Rice, and we're such big fans of the books.
Bernie, I think, as Elton alludes to, you went back to Anne Rice a long time ago and you said, look, I love this character. I'd love to do something musically with him. And I think the story goes, Bernie, if I'm not mistaken, she said, I like the idea, but then in swooped Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah, the thing was that, as Elton said, we've been fans since Interview with the Vampire came out in the early 70s. And there was a point later in the 70s, early 80s, where there was talk about maybe doing it for the screen as a musical, but Tom came in there and apparently knew more about vampires than we did, so
got the movie going. But did you always hope it would come back around to you?
Oh yeah, no, and actually I think it worked out for the best. I'm glad that we ended up doing it now as opposed to back then, because I think we probably had a better knowledge of it now, and so I think it worked out for the best.
You spent some time with Anne. I think it was in Las Vegas. I think you call it Vampire Boot Camp.
Yes.
A few days. What exactly happened there? What did she share with you about her view of the character that helped you with the music?
I don't think she shared anything with us. I think we knew exactly where to go. We've been in sync with her all the time. And she's been consulted all the time. As soon as we've written songs, she's heard them. And she hasn't complained at all. And so I think we were such big fans, we knew where to go with this. I mean, there are there's no strings of garlic on stage. There are no dancing vampires hardly. There are no, the cliche. There's been several vampire musicals before this that have been pretty cliched. This is very dark. It's very funny. It's very homoerotic. It's very sexy. And it's everything that the books were.
Did it really only take you 10 days to write the music?
No.
How long did it take?
11.
And Bernie, what about your part of this? Was the collaboration typical for you two, the way you normally work?
Yeah, the collaboration in its sense. I mean, the actual construction of the lyrics was slightly different because I was, instead of using my own imagination, I was lending from the imagination of Anne Rice. So I was going along with her thought process, and you have to bear in mind that this stretches several centuries.
Right.
So you have to take into consideration the historical and geographical placement all the way through. So I had to be making sure that I was saying the right things about the right time.
Let's talk. I mean, it opened in San Francisco, broke a box office record for an opening, and then the critics got a hold of it, and they were tough. They were really tough. Is it because you think, Elton and Bernie, that this is a tough sell on Broadway and in theater right now? I mean, you look at what's making money right now. You got the music of Billy Joel, the music of ABBA. You got Frankie Valli on Broadway. Is this going to be hard to communicate to an audience?
I don't think so at all. It's very, it's an adult musical. I mean, it's not one of those silly put-together musicals. And I'm not saying that about the Frankie Valli musical. It's supposed to be great. I think there's room for everything on Broadway.
If I could interject, I think also if you like shows like Les Mis, Sweeney Todd, even Phantom to a certain degree. I mean, they all have that sort of slight dark edge to them, and this very much has that. But there is also a huge amount of dark humor, so it's not bogged down in darkness. I mean, there's great light, there's great hope in it, there's redemption. So I mean, it is uplifting in many ways.
At this stage in your careers, and you've had a lot of success, do the critics bother you?
Not really. I mean, I think this is some of the finest music we've ever written, and I stand by that. I think the critics in San Francisco were right to a degree, but they were very harsh because it was us, and we know.
Why? Because it was you? Because you were so successful, they want to take you down a notch?
I think so. I think that's always the case. But to be fair to them, there are things that we've changed it quite a lot, and we had to. That's why you go out of town to try these things out. Billy Elliot, which is a huge success in England, only came together in the last week. You know, that's what happens with musicals. It's not going to be perfect from day one. It's going to be imperfect, and then you have to work on it and get it right so that when it hits opening night, you are in your stride. And believe me, we are in our stride now. This show is great.
Was it hard, Bernie, to go back and change as much of the show as you did? I mean, obviously you had to be in love with parts of it. You had to say, I think this is great, that I wouldn't have put it on the stage in San Francisco.
Well, you go in expecting that. I mean, that's the way of the theater. I mean, you know, with all due respect, we're not the first show to go out of town and have critical. Yeah, it happens to many shows, and that's the whole process of going out of town, is to see how it works, to retool it. You know, to have, when the critics come in, the idea is to take what is justifiable and run with that, and then the rest of it, the spiteful stuff, you just brush aside.
But let's, for example, in San Francisco, Wicked started in San Francisco, the same theater we did, I think, and they tore it to bits, and it's one of the biggest success stories of the last 4 or 5 years on Broadway. It's a huge hit and a great musical, so you never know.
You excited about tonight?
Thrilled.
Yeah,
Thrilled.
it's going to be fun.
Bring it on.
We're going to come back. You're going to sing a classic for us and then a song from Lestat as well.
Yep.
Elton John, Bernie Taupin.
Thank you.